and welcome back to Off the Post. In today's video we'll be discussing who makes it into a Manchester City and Spurs combined 11, but before that, as always, please like, comment, subscribe, it's very much appreciated and it goes a long way in helping me build a small community on my channel. Okay, we've recently just hit 171 subscribers and I just want to say a massive thank you for all you guys showing support on my most recent videos, all the likes and the comments on social media as well. It definitely doesn't go unnoticed and I just want to say a massive thank you for all you guys showing support. But let's get straight into it anyways. Starting off with the goalkeepers, obviously Man City have just signed James Trafford and we've got Vicario, okay, for Tottenham Hotspur as well. For me, out of them two, I'm going to have to choose James Trafford just because, for me, I really do rate this goalkeeper. Obviously, he's only spent one season in the Premier League with Burnley, got relegated, got back promoted, and now he's signed for Man City again. For me, I think it's a perfect signing, and I really hope he gets a lot of game time ahead of Ederson this season, because it does look like Ederson is going to get out the door. And for me, I feel like James Trafford is the perfect replacement for him, just because he's got high potential, doesn't he? Obviously, he's like the number, I want to say, probably third choice for England as well. So even though he hasn't played that much in the Premier League, I do hope he smashes it for the Manchester City this season, even though there's been rumours that Donnarumma might come in from PSG. Hopefully that doesn't happen for the sake of James Trafford as well. But for me, even when you compare the two goalkeepers in James Trafford and Vicario, I feel like James Trafford is a better goalkeeper, even though he spent less time in the Premier League. So yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Okay, moving over to right backs, we've got Rico Lewis and we've got Pedro Porro. Now, when you describe these two players, for me, it is probably a problem area for both teams, just because, you know, obviously losing Kyle Walker for Manchester City last season, or well, this season I suppose, it's a bit of a tricky one, isn't it? Because, you know, he was one of the better right backs in the league, and then when you obviously starting your season with Rico Lewis, it's a bit of a downgrade in that sort of aspect. And when you think about right backs in the Premier League this season, it's probably a bit of a problem area where we don't really have that many good right backs these days, at least. Obviously, you've got Reece James, you've got Kyle Walker, but he's getting on a bit now at 35 years old. So it's a bit of a tricky one. It's a bit of a problem area for that right back position. But when you compare these two, I'm going to have to choose Pedro Porro, just because I feel like he's the best of the bad bunch, isn't he, out of these two players at least. Don't get me wrong, Rico Lewis does have a bit of potential at least as well, but I'm pretty sure he's been linked to a move to Nottingham Forest this season, so we have to wait and see if it actually does leave Manchester City or not. I don't think he will leave, because there's only, 3 or 4 weeks left of the transfer window, so it's a bit of a tricky one. I don't feel like he will leave, and I reckon he probably will get another chance at Manchester City this season. But for me, Pedro Porro is probably, I want to say, top 3 right backs in the league now. Obviously, you've got Reece James, obviously you've got Ben White, you've got Timber who plays there sometimes. But again, who else is there? For me, for me, Pedro Porro is slightly underrated. Okay, moving over to the first of the two centre-backs, we've got John Stones versus Christian Romero. And for me, I'm going to have to choose Christian Romero, because he's a new captain of Tottenham Hotspur. And for me, he's came in, I want to say, 3 seasons now, and he is fantastic, isn't he? Obviously, he helped them win the Europa League last season. He's won, international trophies for Argentina as well. So he's a very experienced centre back, and he's probably one of the better centre backs in there. And when you compare him to John Stones, don't get me wrong, he's very good, but he just can't stay fit, can he? He's a very good ball-playing centre back, but for me, I feel like Christian Romero is that, and he can do the defensive side a little bit better than John Stones can. Maybe I'm rating him a little bit too highly, I'm not too sure. Maybe let me know in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with my picks, and let me know in the comments down below who you would choose instead of me. Okay, moving over now to the second centre-back of the two, it is Ruben Diaz versus Mickey van der Ven, and for me, out of the two, I'm going to have to choose Ruben Diaz, because I feel like overall, you know, he adds that, leadership, he adds that, defensive awareness, that sort of being able to tackle at the right moments, to be able to intercept at the right moments, to be able to, keep that high line as well, keep that shape with the other 3 defenders in there. So yeah, for Ruben Diaz compared to Mickey van der Ven, don't get me wrong, Mickey van der Ven, it's sort of a bit of a mixed match when you sort of compare the two defenders, because they are very different. Mickey van der Ven is more of a, I wouldn't say Rolls Royce for defender, but he's faster than Ruben Diaz. He's better ball recovery than Ruben Diaz. He's better than he's better at sort of picking out that sort of interception, if you like. Sort of when you've got a striker sort of running in behind, and you need your centre back to sort of sweep that sort of player and sort of get tackling at the last moment. I feel like Mickey van der Ven is probably better than Ruben Diaz in that sort of aspect. So Don't get me wrong, I feel like he probably will overtake a Ruben Diaz in a few years' time, but I feel like at this current stage, Ruben Diaz is probably a better defender than the Dutch defender is, at least for Tottenham. Okay, moving over now to the left back position, we've got Yait Nouri versus Udogie. Okay, now for me, even though I highly rate Udogie, I'm gonna have to choose Yait Nouri just because, he's just come into the side for Manchester City, signing this season, and he doesn't look out of place, does he? He's only had one game so far. He made his debut last week against I want to say Wolves, obviously his former team Wolves, and that's why he got his move to Manchester City, because he's been so impressive for Wolves over the last 2 or 3 seasons, and he's going to be so attacking this season, isn't he, for Manchester City? And I feel like even though he might miss a few games because they've got the Croatian left back in there, Gavardio, he might miss a few games because of him. He might only become like a rotation option for Manchester City. I still feel like he probably will have a better career than Udogie has, unfortunately, just because I feel like Manchester City will win more. Okay, moving over to one of the centre mids, we've got Nico Gonzalez versus Archie Gray. Now, for me, I haven't really seen that much of Nico Gonzalez, so I'm going to have to choose Archie Gray, because him coming in last season for Tottenham Hotspur, right, he was a fantastic player. Don't get me wrong, they used him out of position at right back, at centre back. He's more of a natural centre mid in there, more of a CDM type centre mid, number 8, if you like, as well. He can sort of play both roles in the midfield. So for me, hopefully this season he can sort of come in and play in that midfield area, his more natural position, considering that their team aren't riddled with injuries like they used to be last season, at least, because last season they had a very thin squad. They were riddled with injuries, and he had to play out of position, and he didn't look out of place either, if you like. He looked like very solid in there, playing at right back, playing at centre back at times for Ange Postecoglou. So even though he's sort of very versatile player in that sort of aspect, if you like, I feel like we'll see him shine for Tottenham Hotspur in that centre mid position. You could argue you could have a Paulinho in there. Obviously, he's only played one game, coming off the bench against Burnley, if you like. So he's only played one game, and he probably is the more natural CDM out of this side. But yeah, I'm sort of basing this combined 11 off the current side they played last week, at least. Anyways, like the current 11 for both teams, if that makes sense. Okay, moving over now to the second midfielder of the two, it is Renders versus Bergvall. Okay, now for me, this is quite an easy one for me. It has to be Renders. Okay, just because even though he's only had one game in the Premier League, he's a new signing for Man City, he comes with high pedigree in the world of football for what he did at AC Milan for those couple of seasons when he was there. And for me, we've seen it in the first game week, that goal he scored against Wolverhampton Warriors, it just shows the class and the quality of the player. And for me, I feel like he's levels above Bergvall, even though he's only had one game for the Premier League. It doesn't matter. He's absolutely class, and he also got 10 points in FPL. So you've got to be half decent players to get 10 points, don't you? So yeah, for me, Renders, it's an easy one. It's an easy choice. It's for me. Don't get me wrong. When you talk about Bergvall, he's a fantastic prospect, isn't he? Coming through Tottenham Hotspur, and I feel like he will have a good career for them. He doesn't look like one of their hot prospects coming through their team. They're starting 11 at the moment, but when you compare the two players, Renders for me is more of the exciting talent out of the two, and that's why I'm gonna have to choose him. Okay, moving over to the right winger position, we've got Oscar Bob versus Mohamed Kudus. Okay, now for me, Kudus wins this all day long. Don't get me wrong. Again, Oscar Bob is a very exciting talent. However, he's had a massive injury last season, hasn't really played that much for Man City, and when he does come on for Man City, he doesn't really, do enough for me to sort of, pick him ahead of Kudus. And for me, even though he's only played one game, he's a new signing again for Tottenham, quite similar to the Renders situation. He was linking up very well with Richarlison in the last game against, I want to say Burnley, wasn't it? So for me, he was sort of creating a nice little partnership with Richarlison. People were comparing Mohamed Kudus and Richarlison to like the Mbeumo and Wissa effect for Thomas Frank at Brentford last season. So for me, hopefully, that partnership can grow and grow throughout the season, and potentially, combine to score some decent, nice goals and assists for next season. So we'll have to wait and see. But for me, when you think about Mohamed Kudus, okay, he's got the skills, he's got the flair, he's got the dribbling ability, He's got the pace. For me, he just lacks that sort of consistency and that goal threat in front of goal, doesn't he? He doesn't get enough goals and assists for his quality going forward when he's in that final third, isn't it? So for me, if he can get that sorted out under Thomas Frank and sort of become that Embuemo type player for a Thomas Frank for Spurs, I feel like he'll be frightening for that Tottenham Hotspur team going forward this season. We just have to wait and see if he can find that consistency or not. Okay, moving over now to the central attacking midfielder, it is Bernardo Silva versus Papi Sarr. Now for me, this is an easy one again. I feel like it has to be Bernardo Silva, doesn't it? For me, he's done it for a good, 4 or 5 years now for Manchester City. He's a very versatile player. He's an experienced player for Pep Guardiola. He can play in a number of positions, and for me, he always offers you a 7 or 8 out of 10 every single game, which doesn't he, Bernardo Silva? And hopefully now, like Kevin De Bruyne has sort of left Manchester City, hopefully Bernardo Silva can sort of take on that mantle and become that main attacking player in that front 3 or 4, if you like, for Manchester City. We have to wait and see. Okay, we've got 2 players left on this list. Moving over to the left wing, we've got Doku versus Brennan Johnson. And now for me, this might be a little bit controversial, right? But I'm going to say this, okay? I'm going to choose Brennan Johnson ahead of Doku, just because I feel like out of the 2 players, Brennan Johnson is more consistent. He's more of goal threat going forward. Obviously, he scored, I want to say, like 17 goals last season. Either in the Premier League or all competitions, and he also won the winning goal to win them Europa League, didn't they? So for me, how can you not choose Brennan Johnson over Doku? Don't get me wrong, I feel like when you compare Doku to Brennan Johnson, they are different players, but if you compare Doku to a Kudus, they're sort of similar in the sense of they're very attacking, they've got so much flair, they've got so much great dribbling ability, but in the final third, it's where it sort of lets them down, if you like. They're not consistent enough scoring goals and getting assists. So for me, when you think about Doku, that's what he needs to get better at. He needs to get some goals and assists for his, in his career, doesn't he? To help out Manchester City side, because he doesn't get enough goal contributions to be your main starter for that Manchester City side. And hopefully he can sort of do that throughout the season. But for me, Brennan Johnson, he's more of a goal threat. That's why I've chosen him in my team, because that's what wingers, that's what attacking midfielders, that's what strikers need. You need goals win your games at the end of the day. I've said it so many times, and that's what you need in your side. And Brennan Johnson offers that in abundance, doesn't he? I hope he actually fits into that Thomas Frank's system, and I hope he develops throughout the season and just gets better and better, because I highly rate this player a lot. So hopefully he can do some good stuff this season. Okay, moving over to the last position on this list, and it is striker, okay? And we've got Erling Haaland versus Richarlison. Now for me, again, this is an easy one, isn't it? We've got to choose Erling Haaland. There's no way on earth I'm going to go against this striker, okay? He's the best striker in the league. I don't care what anybody says. Obviously, there's a massive comparison between Erling Haaland and Alexander Isak, and for whatever reason, last season I was saying Alexander Isak was won it for me, but I don't really like the whole situation he's going through. I don't really like his mindset at Newcastle now, not really playing for the club, not training at the club, just because he wants to move away. I don't really respect that. And out of the 2 players, if you think about it, pure football reasons, I feel like Erling Haaland is the better player, isn't he? He's a goal machine at the end of the day. He scores goals galore, doesn't he, Erling Haaland? And for me, he suits that Manchester City side to a T, doesn't he? There's a few stylistically and technical reasons why people probably don't like Erling Haaland as much as an Alexander Isak. However, when you think about goals, Haaland will score you goals. People were saying he had an off season last season, and if he had an off season last season and he scored 22 goals, what would a good season look like for Erling Haaland? That's what I'm trying to say, okay? Because when you think about it, okay, he's a striker that can score 30, 40 goals in a season, and hopefully he can get back to his best, because if he does score those goals, it's more than likely that Manchester City will win a league, and he probably will have to, or at least win a big competition this season. It's a tricky one when you think about Erling Haaland, because I feel like, because he doesn't drop deep and he doesn't really link up with the midfielders and the wingers as much as people like, at least. I feel like that's probably why he gets a bit of a hard time, and that's why probably people don't really rate him as high as they should, really. But yeah, this is my Manchester City versus Spurs combined 11. But yeah, let's just quickly end the video with a score prediction, okay, for this game in game week 2. I feel like Manchester City will beat Spurs 3-1, okay. I just feel like their attack will be too much for that Tottenham Hotspur defence. It might be a little bit contradicting myself, because I feel like I've chosen more Spurs defenders rather than Manchester City defenders. We'll have to go back and see that in the editing process. But At the end of the day, I feel like Manchester City's attack would be just too much for Spurs to handle. They've got so many attacking options in their starting 11, on the bench as well. We haven't even mentioned the likes of Phil Foden, Churchy, and the likes of these types of players. You know what I mean? That they can bring off the bench. Let's end it off with some questions, okay? How do you feel about my goalkeeper choice in James Trafford? How do you feel like he'll adapt to that Manchester City side? How would you feel about the defence? How would you feel about the midfielders? Would you choose some of these new starting midfielders like a Renders over a Bergvall? Would you choose a Mohamed Kudus over a who else was in there? An Oscar Bob? Would you choose a Brennan Johnson over a Doku? Who would you choose as your main striker in there? Let me know in the comments down below. But before that, as always, please like, comment, subscribe. It's very much appreciated, and it goes a long way in helping me build a small community on my channel. Okay, we've recently just hit 171 subscribers, and I just want to say a massive thank you for all you guys for any support on my videos. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.